Hello, I'm Logic Bunny, and come with me down the rabbit hole of knowledge.
Ever wondered why we often swat away a buzzing insect? Maybe with a little shiver of fear. It's a natural reaction, isn't it? But what if I told you that these tiny, buzzing creatures are actually some of the biggest heroes on our planet? Prepare to have your mind blown. Did you know that bees are responsible for pollinating about 1/3 of the food we eat? Imagine your dinner table laden with fruits, vegetables, and nuts. Now, picture 1/3 of that food simply vanishing. That's the scale of the bees' impact. It's enormous. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Bees sting. They're scary, and it's true, a bee's sting can be painful, but most bees are actually quite gentle. They're far more interested in collecting nectar and pollen than in bothering us. They only sting when they feel threatened, when they're trying to protect their hive or themselves. Think of it as a last resort, a tiny act of self-defense in a big, sometimes scary world. But their role goes far beyond just pollinating our food. Bees are what we call ecosystem engineers. What does that even mean? Well, just like human engineers design and build structures, bees help to shape and maintain the ecosystems they live in. Their pollination efforts support countless plant species, which in turn provide food and shelter for other animals. They're like the keystone of an arch. Remove them, and the whole structure could crumble. So, the next time you see a bee buzzing around, take a moment to appreciate its hard work. These tiny creatures are essential to our survival, and they deserve our respect and protection. What if we tried to see them not as a threat, but as the tiny heroes they truly are? So, what exactly do bees do that makes them so vital? We often think of them as honeymakers, and it's true that golden, sweet treat is a wonderful gift from the bees. And beeswax, which they use to build their hives, is incredibly useful too. But their real superpower lies in pollination. Imagine a bee flitting from flower to flower, seemingly aimlessly. But with each visit, it's collecting tiny grains of pollen on its fuzzy body. As it moves to the next flower, some of that pollen rubs off, fertilizing the plant. This is called cross-pollination, and it's essential for many plants to produce fruits, vegetables, and seeds. Without bees, our grocery stores would look very, very different. Now, what if bees started to disappear? It's a scary thought, isn't it? It's not just about losing honey. The potential impacts are far-reaching. Our food security would be threatened, biodiversity would decline, and the economy would suffer. It's like a domino effect, where the loss of one small creature triggers a cascade of negative consequences. There are also some common myths about bees that I want to clear up. Not all bees live in hives, and honey isn't their only food source. In fact, there's an incredible diversity of bee species, each with its own unique lifestyle and habits. They aren't just a single, homogeneous group, but a vast collection of different species. Here's a 3-step technique to truly understand the importance of bees. First, observe a bee in action. Watch it carefully as it pollinates a flower. Second, research that plant and discover how much it depends on bee pollination. Finally, think about what would happen to the food chain if that plant disappeared. Sometimes, the immediate gratification of honey can distract us from the bigger picture. We need to focus on the long-term ecological consequences of bee decline, the delayed but devastating impact it could have on our world. Are we willing to risk that for a jar of honey? But here's a mystery, and it's a serious one: colony collapse disorder, or CCD. Have you ever heard of it? It's a phenomenon where bees mysteriously abandon their hives, leaving behind the queen and the young. It's like a bee ghost town, an empty shell where a thriving community once lived. So, what's causing this? Well, there are several suspects, and the truth is, it's probably not just one single factor. Pesticides are a major concern, especially neonicotinoids, which can affect a bee's navigation and and memory. Habitat loss is another culprit, as bees need diverse sources of pollen and nectar to stay healthy. Parasites, like the varroa mite, can weaken bees and make them more susceptible to disease. And then there's climate change, which can disrupt flowering patterns and make it harder for bees to find food. A fatal mistake in trying to solve CCD is focusing on just one cause. It's easy to point the finger at pesticides, for example, but the reality is much more complex. It's likely a combination of factors, a perfect storm of stressors that are weakening bee colonies. Imagine a bee colony as a complex machine, with each bee playing a vital role. What happens when one part malfunctions? How does it affect the whole system? It's the same with an ecosystem. Everything is interconnected, and the loss of one species can have ripple effects throughout the entire web of life. Let me share a real story. I heard about a beekeeper who lost almost all of their colonies to CCD. It was devastating, both emotionally and economically, but they didn't give up. They started using more sustainable beekeeping practices, planting bee-friendly flowers, and advocating for stricter pesticide regulations. It's a long and difficult road, but it shows that even in the face of adversity, there's always hope. What if we all took a little bit of inspiration from that beekeeper's resilience? But what can we do to help these tiny heroes? It might seem like a daunting task, but there are actually many simple steps we can take to make a difference. Let's become heroes ourselves. First, plant a bee-friendly garden. Choose plants that attract bees and offer them a reliable food source. Native plants are especially important because they're adapted to the local climate and provide the best nutrition for native bees. Think about planting things like lavender, sunflowers, and wildflowers. Second, avoid pesticides. As we've discussed, pesticides can be incredibly harmful to bees. Instead, try alternative pest control methods, like introducing beneficial insects or using organic gardening practices. Your garden will thank you, and so will the bees. Third, build a bee hotel. Solitary bees, unlike honeybees, don't live in hives. They need small cavities to nest in. You can easily create a bee hotel by drilling holes in a block of wood or bundling together hollow stems. It's a fun and easy project, and it provides much needed shelter for these important pollinators. Fourth, support local beekeepers. By buying their honey, you're supporting their efforts to keep bees healthy and thriving. Plus, local honey is delicious and often has unique flavors depending on the flowers the bees have been visiting. But sometimes we can feel overwhelmed by the scale of the problem. We might think that our individual actions don't make a difference, but that's simply not true. Every small change, every bee-friendly garden, every pesticide-free yard contributes to a larger effort. It's like a ripple effect where small actions can create big changes. What if we all committed to doing just one thing to help the bees? Imagine the impact we could have. Now, let's talk about biodiversity. Not all bees are created equal. There's an incredible diversity of bee species, each with its own unique role in different ecosystems. Some bees are specialized to pollinate specific plants, like the squash bee, which is perfectly adapted to pollinating squash flowers. It's like a perfectly fitted key in a lock. One mental factor that can sabotage our understanding of bee diversity is confirmation bias. We tend to focus on what we already know, which often means honeybees. But that can lead to oversimplification and a neglect of the vital roles of other bee species. It's easy to fall into this trap. The desire for quick understanding, seeking efficiency, protecting self-esteem, or the need for clarity can actually lead to avoiding critical thinking, superficial understanding, disengagement from deeper learning, and intellectual laziness. Focusing only on honeybees while neglecting the vital roles of other bee species is like only appreciating one instrument in an orchestra. We need to broaden our perspective to encompass the entire bee family. Society has also distorted the image of the friendly scientist, promoting the idea that only experts can understand and solve environmental problems. This discourages citizen science science and community involvement. But the truth is, everyone can contribute. Understanding the interdependence between different bee species and their environment fosters a sense of responsibility and inspires action. It's similar to how a preteen viewer might feel when watching Logic Bunny explain a complex scientific concept with vivid animations and a simple analogy, suddenly grasping the idea and feeling a rush of understanding and accomplishment. What if we could all feel that sense of connection and empowerment when it comes to saving the bees? But how can we inspire the next generation of bee heroes? How can we instill in them a love for these tiny creatures and a commitment to protecting them? Let's believe in the future. The story of Leonardo da Vinci reveals so much about the bees. Leonardo's meticulous observations of nature, his experimental approach to problem solving, and his understanding of the interconnectedness of all things provide a model for understanding and protecting bees. It's a reminder that curiosity, experimentation, and a holistic perspective are essential for solving complex problems. Illustrate how bees contribute to the production of everyday foods like apples, almonds, and coffee, creating an aha moment and a personal connection to bee conservation. It's like when a complex concept is suddenly made clear and understandable through a simple explanation, visual demonstration, or relatable analogy, leading to a sense of intellectual reward and satisfaction. Encourage viewers to visit local beekeepers, learn about their work, and support their efforts. Arrange Q&A sessions with beekeepers to answer viewers' questions. Here's a symbolic exercise: plant a seed, nurture it, and watch it grow. It's a tangible way to connect with nature and understand the importance of pollination. Discover, explore, test, build, understand, and explain the truth about bees. Acknowledge that fear of bees is real, but knowledge and understanding can overcome it. Promote responsible and respectful behavior around bees. It's similar to how a preteen viewer might feel when watching Logic Bunny explain a complex scientific concept with vivid animations and a simple analogy, suddenly grasping the idea and feeling a rush of understanding and accomplishment. What if we could all approach the world with that same sense of wonder and curiosity? So, what's the final buzz? Bees are essential. They're the tiny heroes of our ecosystem, and our food security depends on them. They face numerous threats, from pesticides to habitat loss, but everyone can take action to help them. Remember, even small changes can make a big difference. Planting a bee-friendly garden, avoiding pesticides, building a bee hotel, supporting local beekeepers, every little bit helps. As Bill Nye would say, science rules, and we can all be part of the solution. The power of observation, the value of experimentation, and the interconnectedness of knowledge across disciplines is the key. The aha moment of understanding is what we seek with bees. Let's support local beekeepers and discover, explore, test, build, understand, explain with truth about bees. So, what can you do now? Share what you've learned with others. Spread the word about the importance of bees and the simple steps we can all take to protect them. Continue exploring the fascinating world of bees. There's so much more to discover. The next time you see a bee, don't swat it away. Take a moment to appreciate its hard work and its vital role in our world. Remember, these tiny creatures are essential to our survival. It's not just about honey, it's about our food, our ecosystems, and our future. What if we could all see the world through the eyes of a bee, appreciating the beauty and interconnectedness of all things? What if we could all become heroes?